Iraq held elections last November, but any efforts to form a new government have proven to be unsuccessful so far. I sat down with Iraqi Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein on the sidelines of the Antalya Diplomacy Forum to talk about the present and future of his country. I'm Ali Aslan, and this is One on One. Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the one topic that the world is glued to right now, which is, of course, the Ukraine-Russia war. In a recent UN vote, Russia was overwhelmingly condemned for its invasion of Ukraine. Your own country abstained from that vote. Explain the rationale behind that.
Iraq was a victim, and Iraqi people was victim of wars for the last 50 years. Internal fights and external wars. So it is a matter of principle in the first place. We are against wars, and wars will not offer solutions. So that was a matter of principle. The second point was that our society is diverse. We are in the process of formation of a new government in Iraq, and we are take-care government. So taking into consideration the internal politics, and depending on the principle of that war will not solve the problems, we took this position. By the way, we were not the only country. There were 35 countries who took the same position. And at the same time, we applied and asked countries engaged, but also other countries to find a way to solve this problem through dialogue and peaceful means. So we are asking for solving the problem not through the wars and continuing this conflict, because this will be a conflict which affects all societies in the world. And it's already affected all societies in the world. So it is a very dangerous conflict.
Indeed it is. But you explained why Iraq abstained from condemning Russia by saying our own country, Iraq, has been the victim of war for many years. We've suffered from war. Wouldn't that be a reason to vote for the resolution?
Iraq has been occupied. This is a reality. If we will be against occupation of some countries on the other, then this principle must be valid to everyone. It will be difficult to measure these conflicts with double standards. So we were not against the resolution, but we were not pro. As we were not against pro the war or occupation. We were not pro the occupation, and we were not against the resolution. So we were neutral, in fact.
So you're trying to clearly strike a fine balance here. Let's talk about domestic politics here, because national elections in your country, in Iraq, obviously were held in November last year, but there seems to be little progress on the selection of a new president and the formation of a new government. What exactly is holding up the process?
It is a fact that 5 months ago we had our election, and until now we were not able, or the political parties in Iraq, they were not able to reach an agreement. We have got some political conflicts. As you know, the Iraqi society is, Iraqi society is a diverse society. Iraqi politics is depending on the political parties, which depends on the components of the Iraqi society. That means the Shia political parties, the Sunni political parties, and the Kurdish political parties. It is unfortunate until now there are some political conflicts among the Shia political parties, and the Shia political parties are supposed to, let's say, to nominate the candidate for the prime minister. As the Kurds, they are supposed to nominate the candidate for the presidency. So among the Shia political parties, we have got political conflicts, but also among the main Kurdish political parties, Still, we have conflicts about who will be the next candidate to become the president and who will be the next candidate to become the prime minister. Having said that, I am sure that within a short time, the political parties, both sides, I mean the Shia political parties and the Kurdish, they will reach an agreement and it will be solved. I hope that we will soon have a new government, and then this caretaker government will deliver the task to the new government.
The other issue that the world is watching closely are, of course, the new revitalized Iran nuclear talks, which seem to be making some progress. To say that your own country has had somewhat of a interesting history with Iran would be an understatement. Of course, it's your neighbor. How do you view the current Iran nuclear talks? What is your opinion?
We are in intensive contact with the Iranian side, Iranian officials, but also with the American officials. And I am aware of the process of the talks, and we exchange views about the process of the talks in Vienna. It's going well, and I think within a short time, perhaps within a week or 2 weeks, I think there will be an agreement between Washington and Tehran. The conflict between Washington and Tehran, the tension and the conflict between Washington and Tehran reflects itself on Iraqi soil and Iraqi society. So that's why we are following the process, and that's why we are intensively in contact with both capitals, Tehran and Washington, and we are talking and exchanging views with them, and we hope that they will reach as soon as possible this agreement, and it will be announced.
You spoke about your relationship with the U.S., with Washington, and as a matter of fact, there's still U.S. troops in your country, of course, that are being hosted by your country. How long do you think Iraq will continue to host U.S. troops?
No, we had dialogue with the U.S. government, fourth round of talks. We call it strategical dialogue, and we reached an agreement. In fact, the combat forces, American combat forces, has left. So now we are talking about advisors and trainers. So there are American forces, but they are mainly advisors and trainers, which has been needed. It is up to the Iraqi government, in fact, Iraqi government has a say in this, and we according to our agreement, strategical government, they are there, but then as advisors and trainers.
The fact that you say you're expecting a new government to be formed in Iraq fairly soon, and about, of course, the delicate balances that need to be struck. The Anti-Corruption Committee formed by Prime Minister Kadhimi back in 2020 was declared anti-constitutional this month. Interestingly, will this be a setback to your own country's efforts to reduce corruption within the government?
I don't think it is about anti-corruption committee. It was about a different organization. So the court took this decision, and I don't know when it will be implemented, but it is not about anti-corruption committee. Having said that, corruption is a big problem in Iraq, and we are fighting it. Different governments try to form commissions to fight corruption. So it is a long process. It is a fight, in fact. But we are determined to continue this fight against corruption.
And another country or another war rather, that is affecting your country personally is that in Syria. Of course, to this day, there remain thousands of women, children, and Daesh terrorists in the refugee camps in Syria. In your opinion, what should be done with them? Is the world doing enough to expedite those to their home countries? What is the solution here?
You see, our policy is clear about Syria. We need to help Syrian people to have security, and a stable Syria is good for Iraq. Unstable Syria affects our security. In fact, when we go back to our recent history, we have seen that ISIS terrorists, they were using both sides, Syria and Iraq, for their activities. So it is important for us, all of us, in fact, to help the process of peace in Syria to be there and to have a stable Syria. There are many players in Syria, in fact, and that creates a huge problem, and that makes it difficult to find solution. But at the end, all of us, especially the neighboring countries of Syria, has been affected. Either refugees they were coming to these countries, or terrorists they were crossing the border and attacking various societies. So it is in our interest, I mean the neighboring countries, to help the Syrian people to find a solution, first for their internal problem, but second, it is also Syria is a regional problem. So regionally, we are interested in helping Syria to have a stable political situation in Syria.
Foreign Minister, initially in this interview, you said correctly that your own country has been the victim of war, of invasions. Many millions of people have suffered, have died in your country because of that. Is Iraq on its way? Are you optimistic? Is Iraq on its way to be a full member again of the international community, in the sense that it's back on its own feet, that it is going to be a vital player in the Middle East?
We are already a full member of international committee, and Iraq is playing an important role. In fact, now in the region, Iraq has got very good relationship with almost all neighboring countries, and Iraq was able to bring all these neighboring countries together in Baghdad, while there were tensions and conflict among them. So Iraq is playing an important role. But I'm sure that in the coming future, in the near future, Iraq is going to play a leading role in finding solutions, not only for the internal problem, but also for regional problem. And we are going to manage together the regional problem, because the security situation in one country, when it is unstable, it will affect the other country.
Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
For joining us.
Thanks a lot.